Introduction. I would like to sincerely thank everyone who visited this site. President Daisaku Ikeda stated, "The purpose of Buddhism lies in transforming one's life state," and further emphasized, opening the Gosho. Nichiren Daishonin's writings is opening one's life state. Furthermore, 2 years before his passing, he bequeathed us the new edition of the complete writings of Nichiren Daishonin. I was moved to tears upon reading President Daisaku Ikeda's preface. Furthermore, after I began reading the famous passages of the Gosho from beginning to end, I was able to deeply perceive Nichiren Daishonin's true intent. We hope that this book will be utilized as a bridge connecting the hearts of Nichiren Daishonin and President Ikeda to us, and that you will be able to directly touch the Gosho, which is both the highest form of literature and the world's greatest source of encouragement. Furthermore, for the Gosho to be revived in the modern age, correct interpretation and practice are indispensable. To that end, reading President Daisaku Ikeda's The New Human Revolution alongside the Gosho will undoubtedly lead to a deeper understanding of the Gosho. It is our hope that this book will serve as an impetus for you to realize your own mission and be an aid in bringing forth our inherent wisdom. Kaneda Daisyo. About the Matsuno-dono Gohenji reply to Lord Matsuno. I had heard it said, "You must not harbor resentment and jealousy on Shitsu," but I had never been taught what on Shitsu is, or why it is wrong. Yet more than 700 years ago, Nichiren Daishonin carefully and precisely elucidated that meaning for us. What I consider important here is that the Gosho does not state slander. Committed without knowing the 14 slanders is not a fault, nor is it written, retaliating with slander, because one has been slandered by others is not a fault. Nichiren Daishonin taught, all living beings possess the Buddha nature. It is precisely because all people are beings, who possess the potential to attain Buddhahood, that he teaches us the importance of refraining from slander and respecting one another. There are also related descriptions by President Daisaku Ikeda in the Banner of the Law chapter of the New Human Revolution, Volume 26, which we hope will serve as a clue for you to deepen your understanding further. Since learning permeates the heart through repetition, we hope you will listen repeatedly and make the heart of Nichiren Daishonin your own. Kaneda Daisyo. The Matsuno-dono Gohenji Modern Translation. Matsuno-dono Gohenji reply to Lord Matsuno regarding the 14 slanders. Kenchiji 2, 1276, December 9th, Nichiren Daishonin, 55 years old. Addressi Matsuno Rokurozaemon. You sent me a packet of money, a sack of white rice, and 1 white garment. I received these with sincere gratitude. To speak of this mountain to the south, fields and mountains spread limitlessly for over 100 rai. To the north, Mount Minobu soars, continuing on to Shirain Peak. To the west lies the mountain called Shichimen, which rises steeply with never-ending snow throughout the year, and there is not a single house where people dwell. Even if someone happens to visit, they return immediately, not staying for even a moment, much like a monkey swinging on branches, which is truly regrettable. To the east, the Fuji River overflows, flowing like waves of shifting sand, making it difficult to cross. Although this place is so deep in the mountains that few people ever visit, the fact that you send me letters so many times is truly the greatest wonder of wonders. I hear that the scholar priest Nichigen of Jisoji Temple has embraced Nichiren's teachings, abandoned his own territory, been forced to separate from his disciples and lay supporters, and has come to a state where he has nowhere to stay. Despite such circumstances, the fact that he visits me and deeply cares for the priests of Minobu shows that he is truly a person of genuine faith, and he must be called a sage. Originally, he was an unmatched, brilliant scholar priest. Nevertheless, he cast aside worldly fame and profit to become my disciple, practices selflessly, without regard for his own life, preaches the teachings to others in order to repay the Buddha's immense kindness, and moreover, offers such offerings. This is truly wondrous. The Buddha taught that, in the latter day of the law, priests and nuns will appear in number as countless as the sands of the Ganges, just like dogs. The meaning is that the priests and nuns of the latter day of the law cling to fame and profit, and though they wear the surplice on the outside and look like priests, They harbor the sword of evil thoughts in their hearts, speaking all manner of slander and abuse, to prevent other priests and nuns from approaching their own lay supporters, resembling a snapping dog that bites and chases others away. All such priests and nuns are beings destined to fall into the evil paths. This is like a dog that, having arrived first at someone's house and acquired food, growls and barks at dogs that come later, fighting and struggling over the food. All such priests and nuns are beings destined to fall into the evil paths. In contrast, this scholar priest Nichiren, perhaps because he is a student of the Buddhist scriptures, and has witnessed this teaching, takes the trouble to visit the priests, and treats them with deep consideration, for which I am truly grateful. Your letter states, since embracing this Lotus Sutra I have never regressed, and I continually read the 10 factors, and the Jigaj and chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. However, what difference is there between the merit of the Daimoku, chanted by a sage, and the merit of the Daimoku chanted by us? In answer to this question, there is absolutely no superiority or inferiority in that regard. However, if one chants while betraying the spirit of this sutra, then a difference in benefit will arise. The reason is that just as there is no difference in the intrinsic value between gold possessed by a foolish person and gold possessed by a wise person, and just as there is no difference in the power to burn between a fire lit by a foolish person and a fire lit by a wise person, there is fundamentally no distinction in the benefit of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. However, if one chants while betraying the spirit of the Lotus Sutra's teaching, then a difference in that benefit will arise. There are various stages in the practice of the Lotus Sutra. To speak broadly of them, the 5th volume of the Hakka Key records, regarding the clarification of the types of evil, this passage mentions both those that are discussed and those that are not. Some divide this by first listing the causes of evil, and then describing the results of evil. The causes of evil are the following 14 types. 1. Arrogance. 2. Laziness. 3. Attachment to self. 4. Shallow understanding. 5. Attachment to desire. 6. Failure to understand. 7. Lack of belief. 8. Frowning and showing dislike. 9. Doubt. 10. Slandering the law. 11. Lightly regarding the good. 12. Hating the good. 13. Envying the good. 14. Resenting the good. These 14 slanders apply to everyone, whether lay practitioners or priests. This is truly a fearsome matter and must be deeply admonished. The Bodhisattva, never disparaging, Fukyo Bosatsu of the past, taught all people possess the Buddha nature. By embracing the Lotus Sutra, they are certain to attain Buddhahood. Therefore, disparaging others is the same as disparaging the Buddha. And he practiced the discipline of reverence. Even towards people who did not embrace the Lotus Sutra, he showed the same reverence, saying, this person may also embrace the Lotus Sutra someday. That person also possesses the Buddha nature. The 4th volume of this sutra teaches, if a person, whether lay or monastic, slanders a practitioner who embraces and preaches the Lotus Sutra, even just a single word, that offense is heavier than the offense of slandering the Buddha Shakyamuni for 1 kalpa. Furthermore, it even teaches whether that slander is true or whether it is not true. Considering these teachings, we must never slander one another, regardless of what happens, concerning those who believe in and practice the Lotus Sutra. The reason is that all who embrace the Lotus Sutra are beings who are certain to attain Buddhahood. Slandering a person who is destined to become a Buddha is, exactly as it is, the offense of slandering the Buddha. The benefit of the Daimoku chanted with such understanding is entirely the same as the benefit of Shakyamuni Buddha. The sutra teaches the suffering of the Avachi. Hell is all contained within the life state of the Buddha and the body and land of Vairocana. Buddha do not exceed a single moment of life of an ordinary person. Concerning the heart of the 14 slanders, you must gauge it, according to the words of the sutra. That you inquire about the Buddhist law in this way truly shows you are a person who aspires for the next life. The sutra teaches, one who is able to hear this law is also hard to find. This sutra implies that not only is it difficult for the true messenger of the Buddha to appear in the world and preach this sutra, according to the Buddha's original intent, but it is also hard to find someone who questions the meaning of this. Sutra dispels doubt and possesses deep belief. Even the person of the lowest social status should, without hesitation, inquire about the meaning of this sutra. to someone who is even slightly superior in wisdom. However, the people of the latter day of the law are trapped by arrogance, attachment, fame, and profit, thinking, how can I become that person's disciple? If I receive their teaching, will I be looked down upon by others? They constantly remain in evil thoughts and ultimately fall into the evil paths. The Hoshi chapter teaches, compared to the merit of exhausting all treasures to make offerings to the Buddha for 8 billion kalpas of time, if one makes offerings to a priest who preaches the Lotus Sutra and subsequently listens to the law of this sutra, even for a very short time I should rejoice, for I will gain great benefit and merit. Even those without wisdom can gain benefit by serving the one who preaches this sutra, following the principle that even any demon or beast must surely rise and greet them from afar, and should be reverenced as one reverences the Buddha. When they preach a single verse or phrase of the Lotus Sutra, we should mutually revere each other as Buddhas. This should be done, for example, just as Shakyamuni Buddha and many treasures Buddha revered each other in the Hatto chapter. Although this person, Sanmibo, is of low status, if he is one who preaches even a small portion of the doctrine of the Lotus Sutra, you should revere him as you would the Buddha and inquire of him concerning the law. You must keep in mind the teaching, rely on the law and not upon the person. Now, long ago, there was a man who lived on a mountain called Snow Mountain. His name was Snow Mountain Boy Sesendoji. He sustained his life by gathering bracken and picking nuts, wore clothes made of deer hide, and quietly practiced the Buddhist path. Snow Mountain Boy contemplated observing the world closely. One understands that life and death follow the principle of impermanence, so those who are born must surely die. Therefore, the transience of this world, which is full of suffering, is momentary, like a flash of lightning, or like morning dew that instantly vanishes in the sunlight. It is no different from a lamp before the wind being easily extinguished, or a banana leaf being easily torn. All people are unable to escape this impermanence, and eventually everyone must embark on the journey to the next world. Thinking of that path after death, it is dark and pitch black, without the light of the sun, moon, or stars, not even a lamp. On that dark road, there is no one to accompany me. In this world, relatives, siblings, wife, children, and kin gather. The father's compassion is deep. The mother's sorrowful affection is profound. And husband and wife share a bond like that of shrimp, living in the same hole, spending their lives together and never separating. They are intimate, like mandarin ducks playing side by side under the same quilt. Yet they will not accompany one another on the journey after death. One walks that dark road utterly alone. Who will come to guide their good and evil deeds? Moreover, in this world where it is unknown whether the old or the young will die first, sometimes the old precede and the young remain, which is the natural order. Even amidst that lament, there is at least some consolation. However, there are also cases where the old remain and the young precede. The most painful is the child who precedes the parent in youth, and the most lamentable is the parent who precedes the child in old age. In this way, life and death are impermanent, and this world, where it is unknown whether the old or the young will die first, is fleeting. Yet, people dedicate themselves day and night solely to actions for worldly benefits, neither revering the Buddha nor believing the law, possessing neither practice nor wisdom, and thus spend their days in vain. When they are dragged to the judgment hall of Yama after death, what will they use as provisions to travel the long journey of the 3 realms? And what will they use as a boat or raft to cross the wide sea of life and death, to reach the Buddha land of true reward and eternal tranquility? He thought, the deluded life is a dream. The life awakened to enlightenment is the reality. Therefore, I must abandon this dreamlike, painful world and seek the reality of enlightenment. With this resolve, he sequestered himself in Snow Mountain, dispelling delusion and illusion from his seat of contemplation, and sought the Buddhist law with single-minded devotion. Chakra looked down upon his form from afar in the heavens and thought, the spawn of fish are many, but those who become fish are few. The flowers of the mango tree bloom abundantly, but those that bear fruit are few. People are the same. Many people awaken the aspiration for enlightenment, but few do not regress and enter the true path. The bodhicitta of all ordinary people is easily misled by many evil influences and is prone to change with every encountered situation. There are many soldiers who wear armor, but few who do not fear battle. I will test this person's resolve. With this thought, Chakra appeared in the form of a fearsome ogre and stood beside the boy. At that time, since the Buddha was not in the world, Snow Mountain Boy Sessendoji was unable to hear any Mahayana sutras, no matter how much he sought them. One day a voice faintly reached him saying, "All things are impermanent. This is the law of birth and cessation." The boy was startled and looked all around, but there was no human figure anywhere. Only a fearsome ogre Kishin had approached and was standing there. Its appearance was fierce and terrifying. The hair on its head stood up like flames. Its teeth were sharp as swords, and it glared at Snow Mountain Boy with bulging eyes. However, the boy was not afraid upon seeing it. He was simply overjoyed to be able to hear the Buddhist law and felt no suspicion. His feeling was like that of a calf separated from its mother, who had faintly heard its mother's voice. Snow Mountain Boy Sessendoji thought, "Who could have chanted that? There must be more to the verse." He searched everywhere meticulously, but still found no sign of a person. Thus the boy wondered, could this teaching have been spoken by an ogre Kishin? But he immediately thought, "No, that cannot be." He considered, that appearance is the form of an ogre, resulting from karmic retribution for misdeeds. That verse Gatha is a profound teaching spoken by the Buddha. It could not possibly have come from the mouth of such a low-ranking ogre. However, since there was no one else, he asked, "Did you perhaps speak that phrase?" The ogre replied, "Do not speak to me. I have spent many days without food, and hunger has made me foolish, unable to keep my mind straight. I must have spoken a meaningless jest just now. Whether I intended to lie or not, I cannot even tell." The boy said, "Hearing this half-verse is like seeing half a moon, or obtaining half a jewel. Surely it was you who chanted it. Please, tell me the rest of the verse." The ogre then said, "You are already endowed with enlightenment, so even if you do not hear it, there should be no regret. I am now suffering from hunger and simply do not have the strength to speak. Therefore do not speak to me any further." Nevertheless, the boy asked, "If you obtain food, will you speak it for me?" The ogre replied, "If I obtain food, I will speak it for you." The boy was delighted and asked, "Then what do you take as food?" The ogre said, "Do not ask any more. If you hear that answer, you will surely be terrified. It is also not the kind of thing you should be seeking." But the boy still insisted, "If you would just tell me what that food is, I will try to find it for you." The ogre then replied, "I eat only the soft flesh of humans and drink the warm blood of humans. I fly around the sky searching widely, but since people are protected by the Buddha and the gods, I cannot kill them as I please. I only eat those who have been abandoned by the Buddha and the gods." At that moment, Snow Mountain Boy Sessendoji thought in his heart, "I will abandon my body for the sake of the law and hear this verse to the very end." He then said, "Your food is right here. There is no need to search elsewhere. My body is not yet dead, so my flesh will be warm. My body is not yet cold, so my blood will be warm too. Please, preach the remainder of the verse. I offer this body to you." The ogre became greatly enraged and said, "Who can possibly believe your words are true? After I preach the verse, if you break your promise, who should I call upon as a witness to question you?" Snow Mountain Boy replied, "This body is bound to die. If I am to die a life in vain, it is better to cast it away for the sake of the law. By abandoning this impure body, I will surely attain enlightenment and become a Buddha in the next life. Receiving a pure and venerable body, it is like exchanging an earthenware vessel for a vessel of treasure. I make Brahma Chakra the four, heavenly kings and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions all my witnesses. I will never speak falsely." The ogre's heart softened slightly and he said, "If your words are true, I will preach the verse for you." At that moment, Snow Mountain Boy rejoiced greatly, took off the deerskin he was wearing, spread it on the ground as a seat of the law, bowed his head to the earth, put his palms together, and knelt, pleading with the deepest reverence. "I humbly request that you preach the remainder of the verse for me." Thereupon the ogre ascended the seat of the law, preached the verse, and said, "When the birth and cessation are extinguished, one enters the bliss of Nirvana Jakumetsu, At that moment, Snow Mountain boy Sesen Doji, hearing this verse Gatha, felt boundless joy and reverence. He thought, I will never forget this, even in future existences, and he repeated it over and over, deeply imprinting it on his heart. The boy further reflected, the joyful thing is that this verse is certainly no different from the teaching preached by the Buddha. However, the lamentable thing is that only I have heard it, and cannot transmit it for the sake of the people. Thereupon, the boy inscribed this verse on stones, wall surfaces, and trees by the roadside, saying, I pray that people who come later will surely see these words awaken to their meaning and enter the true path. Having finished saying this, he immediately climbed a tall tree and cast himself down before the ogre. Before Snow Mountain boy Sesen Doji even reached the ground, the ogre instantly transformed into the figure of Chakra Taisha Kutan, received the boy's body, respectfully placed him in a flat area, bowed deeply in reverence, and said, I merely withheld the Tathagata's sacred teaching for a short while to test your bodhisattva spirit and troubled you. Please forgive this offense, and please be sure to save me in a future life. At that time, all the heavenly beings also gathered, praising him and saying, Excellent, excellent. This one is truly a bodhisattva, Snow Mountain boy. Cast away his body merely to seek half a verse, and through that merit, he eradicated the sins of transmigration through life and death, accumulated over 12 kalpas eons. This event is preached in the Nirvana Sutra. Therefore, Snow Mountain boy Sesen Doji of the past cast away his life without hesitation, even to seek half a verse. How much greater, then, is the benefit of hearing just one chapter, or one volume of this sutra? With what can we repay that great benefit? If one aspires to attain Buddhahood in the next life, one should adopt precisely the same attitude as Snow Mountain boy. If one is poor and has no treasures to offer as alms, then, if there is any way to obtain the Buddhist law even by casting away one's life, one must abandon one's life to learn the Buddhist law. Ultimately, this body will eventually become the soil of the fields and mountains. No amount of cherishing can help it. Even if one tries to cherish it, one cannot cherish it to the very end. Though human life is said to be long, it does not exceed 100 years. Life during that time is merely like a nap's dream. Even if one has fortunately been born as a human being, which is hard to obtain, and has coincidentally become a monk if that person does not study the Buddhist law, and does not admonish those who slander the law hobo, merely spending their days in vain with games and idle talk, that person is nothing more than a beast clad in the skin of a monk. Even if they borrow the name of a monk to navigate the world and sustain themselves, they have not fulfilled even one aspect of the original path of a monk. Such a person is a thief who steals the name of a monk to live. This is truly a shameful and fearful matter. In the theoretical teaching Shakuman, it is preached, I do not begrudge my life, but only begrudge the path of unsurpassed enlightenment. In the essential teaching Honmon, it is preached, do not begrudge your own life. Furthermore, the Nirvana Sutra preaches the body is light, the law is heavy. One should abandon the body and propagate the law. All of these, the theoretical teaching, the essential teaching, and the Nirvana Sutra preach. Do not begrudge your life and propagate the law. The heavy offense of betraying these teachings is invisible to the eye, but accumulating it leads to falling into hell. This is like coldness and heat, which have no form and are invisible to the eye. Yet in winter, the cold comes and torments the plants, humans and beasts. And in summer, the heat comes and afflicts humans and beasts. Therefore, you, as a lay believer, should simply chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo single-mindedly. And furthermore, it is important to make offerings to the monks. If you practice in this way, just as the sutra teaches, you will also be able to speak and widely propagate the Buddhist law, even when the world seems sorrowful. Keep in mind, since the suffering in this world is already difficult to endure, how much more so will be the suffering in the next life. And chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And even in times of joy, remember, the joy in this world is merely a dream within a dream. The joy of the Vulture Peak Sanctuary. Ryozen Jodo is the true joy. And likewise chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Continue your practice without regression in this manner, and observe when you meet the final moment of death Rinju. At that time, if you rush up the mountain of marvelous enlightenment, Myokaku, and look around, how splendid it will be. That place is the eternal land of tranquil light Jakoto of the entire universe, where the great earth is made of lapis lazuli, and the 8 roads are demarcated by golden ropes. 4 kinds of wonderful flowers shower down from heaven. Music resonates in the vast sky, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are enjoying bliss, swaying in the winds of eternity, joy, true self, and purity, Jo-Raku Ga-Jo. The time for us to join their ranks and play in bliss is already drawing near. However, if your faith is weak, you will not be able to reach such a wonderful world. You absolutely cannot go there. If you have any doubts, please ask again, no matter how many times. Please accept these words with utmost care and importance. Kenchiji Tua Hinoe ni 1236, 12th month, 9th day. The reply to Lord Matsuno, Dono go Henji. Nichiren Kao stylized signature. Thank you for reading the modern translation. Next time, we will finally send you the commentary. Please look forward to it.